acquired a couple of adorable slave girls who are now questioning his intentions. Alan finds himself in a tough spot as he needs to answer their inquiries immediately. He tells them that his ultimate goal is to free the world from hunger. However, it's evident that Alan, like any other man, harbors intrusive thoughts about these girls. To understand how Alan arrived at this point, we are taken into a flashback. In this flashback, Alan describes seeing a pure white space before him, where a goddess appeared. Her smile was more beautiful than any human woman's he had ever seen. This encounter signified that he had passed away, but instead of fear or sadness, Alan felt excitement. It was as if he had been waiting for this moment his entire life. After all, being reincarnated by a goddess is a common trope in most web novels. Alan's mind races with thoughts of being sent to another world where he will become the most powerful hero. He imagines being granted unique skills that no one else in that world possesses and using his newfound influence to engage in shady activities with cute girls. During this reflection, we learn that Alan was 30 years old at the time of his death and had never known the touch of a woman. This reincarnation feels like his chance to bid farewell to his innocence and become a true player. The goddess is pleased to see Alan awake, but she doesn't hold back in describing his past life as that of a total loser, especially regarding his relationships with women. Alan isn't happy to hear this, but he can't deny the truth in her words. Fortunately, Alan is somewhat accustomed to verbal abuse, thanks to his younger sister who used to mock him regularly. While it wasn't pleasant, it did help him develop a thick skin, so the goddess's harsh words don't affect him too deeply. Despite the goddess's blunt assessment of his past, Alan has more pressing concerns. He asks the heavenly woman who she really is. She reveals that she is an immortal being, revered as a goddess by the people of his world. Now that it's confirmed Alan is no longer alive, he eagerly seeks to understand how he died. The goddess explains that he collided with a girl who had fallen from a building, an impact that destroyed his spinal cord. This revelation triggers Alan's memory. He had indeed tried to save a fallen girl while returning home from overtime at his job. The goddess doesn't stop there though. She continues to mock Alan, saying he fell prey to the girl's soft body. She even smirks and asks if Alan enjoyed it. Alan is bewildered by the goddess's mockery. While he does appreciate the female form, he clarifies that in such a dire situation, he couldn't even register the softness of the woman's body. Ultimately, the encounter left him far from satisfied. Concerned for the girl he tried to save, Alan asks what happened to her. The goddess reassures him that the girl was saved, thanks to his body serving as a cushion. Relieved that his death wasn't in vain, Alan listens as the goddess reveals that she saved his soul to reward his good deeds. She intends to give him a second chance at life, which immediately makes Alan think about all the shady things he could do once reincarnated. The goddess reveals that Alan will be sent to a fantasy world of swords and magic, but there's a twist. Instead of being reincarnated into a new body, he will possess the body of someone already living in that world. Confused, Alan asks about the difference between this and a regular reincarnation. The goddess explains that in her realm, numerous reincarnations are happening simultaneously, but there aren't enough bodies to accommodate all the souls. To manage the influx of souls, she and other goddesses select existing bodies from the native worlds for the souls to possess, instead of reincarnating them as new individuals. Alan is puzzled by why the goddess refers to reincarnating souls as work, but she explains that managing all these souls is quite a burden. She then shows him the boy he will be possessing, who, coincidentally, is also named Alan. This new Alan has a handsome face and appears to be a young teenage boy. Alan feels a surge of excitement, convinced that with this body and face, he will easily attract all the girls in the new world. The goddess adds that she can finally grant him the wish he so desperately wanted, especially with that innocent body. Annoyed by her mocking tone, Alan retorts that she is toying with his emotions effortlessly and suggests she should toy with his brother instead if she's so keen. The goddess, able to hear his thoughts, asks if he wants to lose his life again. Alan, taken aback, protests that he didn't even say a word and accuses her of intruding into his thoughts. Alan then speculates that in this possession, his soul and the original Alan's soul will share the same body, resulting in two personalities within one person. However, the goddess clarifies that the original Alan's personality will cease to exist, making the scenario less interesting and more straightforward. She explains that the boy, a novice adventurer raised in an orphanage, is destined to die in a starting dungeon. Once his soul departs, our hero's soul will take over the body. Conflicted, Alan realizes he will essentially be hijacking another boy's body. This leads him to a grim speculation. If the boy's body is left in the dungeon, it might become monster food. Alan is apprehensive about possessing the body of a zombie, recalling how he was often called smelly in his past life. The goddess reassures Alan that he doesn't need to worry about becoming monster food or being left in a dungeon. She grants him a special privilege in this world, the skill of regeneration. This means Alan will be able to heal all his injuries and wounds, no matter how severe, making him virtually indestructible. She explains that the skill will activate the moment his soul takes over the boy's body, effectively making him a brand new person. Understanding now, Alan envisions the process of waking up inside another boy's body. It seems wild to him, as he will be cheating death continuously, defying the natural order of life. Essentially, he is being handed an Esther cheat skill to enjoy in this new world. His thoughts quickly turn to how he might use this skill to gain favor with women and fulfill his desires, typical for someone who has never experienced intimacy. With the explanations complete, the goddess asks if Alan has any further questions. He eagerly declines, eager to start his new life and conquer all the cute girls in this world. He sees no point in wasting time when a glorious future awaits him. The goddess understands and begins the process of his transition. Alan, bursting with excitement, declares his intention to become a harem king. He is then transported to the new world, but things turn out differently than he had imagined. 3 years pass, and despite his hopes and expectations, Alan remains untouched and is on the verge of setting a new record for how long a man can maintain his innocence. Not only has Alan failed to hold a girl's hand, but he also can't even have a proper chat with one. He feels as if he's stuck in a cruel joke or a bad dream. Adding to his frustration, there appear to be several miscalculations regarding his new life. First, Alan discovers that defeating monsters, even weak ones like slimes, is incredibly difficult. He admits that if he were to fight one, he would likely lose. Second, Alan learns that you can't acquire magic skills simply by leveling up. This is a significant disadvantage that the goddess forgot to mention initially, only revealing it later in a dream. This revelation crushes Alan's hopes of becoming powerful through magic. The one advantage Alan has is his regeneration skill, which doesn't require much mana and activates strongly. However, this brings him to his third point. It's impossible to disable his pain receptors. Although he can heal his injuries, he still feels all the pain they cause. This becomes evident when he runs away from a small slime, complaining about the unbearable pain. Essentially, Alan is like a loser in this world, and no one wants to take him as a companion. This brings him to his fourth point. He can't form a party. He prefers to keep his regeneration skill a secret and avoids using it in front of others. We see Alan use his heal skill, and as his wound disappears, he acknowledges that he possesses the power of a god in this world. The Holy Church considers self-healing a miracle art, and this church is a powerful and dangerous organization. Not only has it amassed wealth and authority, but it also has the potential to take over the political empire of the kingdom if it wanted to. Regeneration is a superior version of the healing power, so Alan is cautious about attracting the church's attention. This was his fifth miscalculation. Displaying his power too often could bring unwanted scrutiny from the church. Despite these setbacks, Alan refuses to give up. He believes that anyone else in his position would have overlooked these major details. Alan finally arrives at the place he has been wanting to visit for a long time, the slave trader's establishment. He admits that his brain might not have a lot of IQ points, but it did experience a flash of insight. Since he hasn't been able to find companions for his adventures, he decides he might as well pursue a slower-paced lifestyle. After all, he has saved enough money by working at a healing clinic for 3 years. With a slave, he will be able to issue any order he likes, and she will have to obey him. Moreover, due to the slave crest, he doesn't need to worry about the slave revealing his regeneration skills to anyone else. Alan believes this plan is perfect, and sees it as the beginning of his harem life. Alan enters the slave house and encounters the main slave trader, who looks quite intimidating and almost villainous. However, the trader politely asks Alan what kind of slave he is looking for. Knowing he can't appear uncertain, Alan maintains his stance but adopts a falsetto voice that makes him sound like a little girl as he requests to see all the slaves on sale. The slave trader gives him a quick tour of the available slave girls and then asks if anything caught his eye. Alan notes that the only thing that stood out to him was the exorbitant pricing of the slaves, with way too many zeros for him to count. Nonetheless, he was prepared for this, so he continues the conversation. He feels this is the moment to display his intelligence and attempt to bargain. Striking a confident pose, Alan asks the slave trader if he has anything else to offer. This startles the intimidating seller, but Alan's bluff seems to work. He declares his intention to buy the slaves that the trader couldn't sell. Admitting he has already seen everything, Alan understands it might be tricky for the trader to produce something new. He watches the clueless seller, hoping he has something else on offer. After an awkward pause, the slave trader decides to lead Alan to a shady area within his already shady store. Alan is shocked by the deplorable state of the hidden area within the slave trader's shop. He can't believe people are kept in such conditions. Among the battered slaves, Alan notices 2 girls who look particularly worse for wear. Their expressions convey that they've endured horrific experiences. Deeply disturbed, Alan asks the slave trader about these girls. The slave trader explains that the girl with the knife-like ears is an ancient elf, a superior breed of elves. The other girl is an elder dwarf, another rare species. Under normal circumstances, these girls would be special-rank slaves, commanding high prices. However, because of their battered and injured state, they are more affordable. Despite the high price that would deplete his savings in an instant, Alan resolves to purchase both girls, driven by a desire to restore their dignity. Alan completes the purchase and leads the girls away from the shop. Once they reach a secluded spot, the girls are understandably anxious, fearing that Alan might have unsavory intentions. He reassures them that he is not a creep and there is no reason to be afraid. Sensing their skepticism, Alan empathizes with their suffering and decides to demonstrate his sincerity. Using his regeneration skills, he heals them, restoring them to their prime form in seconds. The transformation is astonishing. The ancient elf is stunned, her eyes wide with disbelief as her body returns to normal. The elder dwarf, equally amazed, marvels at her fully restored hands. This miraculous recovery is a significant moment for the girls, but it places Alan in an unexpected situation. He had hoped to have cute companions for his journey, but now they are even more beautiful than he imagined, rivaling the goddess who sent him here. Overwhelmed by their beauty, Alan struggles to find the right words. The girls ask for his name, and in his nervousness, Alan bites his tongue while trying to respond. They watch, puzzled by their new master's fumbling attempts at communication. Realizing he needs to calm down, Alan takes a deep breath. After all, he finally has his harem in another world, and this is the beginning of what he hopes will be a grand adventure. Alan has finally achieved his dream. He feels that he will finally be able to live out his fantasies in grand fashion with his slave girls. Unfortunately for Alan, he had made a huge mistake by blowing all his life savings on these two girls. With no money left to even pay for an inn, he's been forced to live out in the open, inside a monastery deep in the mountains. As if that weren't bad enough, he also has to provide for his new slave girls, adding extra responsibility to his already dire situation. To put it bluntly, he's very broke and in desperate need of support. At this low point, the goddess reappears in his thoughts, mocking him for not planning ahead. Alan, frustrated, tells her that she can't just barge into his monologue just because she's a goddess. She retorts that it costs him nothing to have her in his thoughts, but Alan has had enough and tells her to get lost. All he wanted was to hear his slave girls praising him for his heroic acts, but his intrusive thoughts have led to his current lack of funds. Despite all his efforts, Alan continues to hold on to his innocence. The ancient elf is named Sylphie, and the elder dwarf is named Noel. Both belong to extremely rare races in this world, making almost everything about them a mystery. This situation is exacerbated by Alan's inability to read or write the language of the new world. The goddess had left him a note suggesting he could learn the language himself, but Alan realizes there's much for him to understand in his appraisal scroll. Alan recalls that this is not the time to act like a loser and wallow in despair. He has a job to do and mouths to feed.